Zootopia was an imaginative animated film that showed us an animal-run society that works as a reflection of our own.
Did you just boot my stroller?
From the peaceful farmlands of Bunnyburrow to the very heart of the big city itself, Zootopia offers many opportunities for its residents with the slogan, "Anyone can be anything."
This is Zootopia. Anyone can be anything.
And the story definitely supports this idea, considering we see the biggest of animals have the kindest of hearts, while the smallest animals are revealed to be some of the most sinister.
You kiss me tomorrow, I'll bite your face off.
Which gives us the perfect opportunity to explore exactly how far some of the characters will go to achieve true greatness of both good and evil. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is Zootopia Good to Evil.
Aww. That poor little buddy's gonna get eaten alive.
As usual, we'll be starting with the good characters, beginning with the most pure and working our way down. And taking the gold medal for good is Gazelle.
I'm Gazelle. Welcome to Zootopia.
She cares very deeply for Zootopia and its citizens. Considering the fact that she herself is not a predator, this action is even more meaningful since she is willing to stand up for others who are different than herself. She's a good-natured animal who just wants everyone to live peacefully.
Give me back the Zootopia I love.
The silver medal of good has to go to Mrs. Otterton. From her very first scene to her very last, this sweet, devoted otter showed genuine concern and worry for her missing husband.
My husband has been missing for 10 days.
For the whole movie, her only request was to return him home safely.
Find my Emmett. Bring him home to me and my babies, please.
Mrs. Otterton loved her husband very much and cared deeply for his well-being. That was made clear by the hurt in her eyes when she saw that her husband had turned savage. But as he got better, she not only stayed by his bedside, she was filled with relief so great that the second he woke up, she instantly embraced him, while thanking Judy over her shoulder.
Thank you.
The bronze medal for good might be a bit questionable to some, but we think it belongs to Yax. Although this guy is not on screen for long, his friendliness and laid-back character is clear.
Oh, for sure. We're a naturalist club.
He might be naked for the entire time he's on screen, but public nudity doesn't seem to be against the law, at least in this designated spot. Yak may not be aware of this himself, but he does offer Judy and Nick a lot of useful information for their case, which does help them find a major lead.
Told you Nangi has the mind like a steel trap.
So that earns quite a few points for him. You don't need the memory of an elephant, my friend. You got a better one. Next is Manchus. Despite the fact that he was savagely attacked by a rogue otter, which made him very scared and hesitant, he was still willing to share information with Nick and Judy that would have helped their investigation.
There was no warning. He just kept yelling about the night howlers.
Many will question his placement since he does attack the two investigators. However, it's important to remember that he only turned savage after being hit with a dose of the Night Howler serum. Therefore, he wasn't at fault for his behavior. We're placing Benjamin Clawhauser next.
Goodness. They really did hire a bunny.
This guy is the excitable, good-hearted, fun-loving greeter for the police station.
I tried to stop her. She is super slippery. I gotta go sit down.
He shows friendliness to everyone, including criminals, and never shows bad intentions for his speech or actions. His only flaw is that his behavior could be seen as annoying or a distraction for those doing their job, such as when Judy tries to get help during a chase scene. But that can easily be overlooked. Also, when he's moved to records, the hurt he feels is clear, but he still tries to be civil to Judy despite the fact that she was the one who indirectly cost him the job that he loved.
They're gonna move me to records. It's downstairs.
Overall, this guy seems to have a big heart, almost as big as his love for donuts. Up next, we have Judy's police coach. Judy's coach was a confident, direct, and informative character. At the academy, she started off like everyone else. She doubted Judy and tried to tell her that she was in over her head.
Just quit and go home, Fuzzy Bunny.
However, upon seeing how much Judy had improved, she quickly realized that her assessment was wrong and the bunny was capable of being a cop. And on that note, we finally arrive at Judy Hopps. From her very first scene, Judy is shown to be optimistic, dramatic, confident, good-natured, and has no problem standing up for herself and others. This last point was made clear when she confronts Gideon Grey to get her friend's tickets back and walks away with scratches on her face.
Yeah, I'm okay. Here you go.
And again when she saves the lives of countless citizens during her chase with Duke Wesselton, including Mr. Big's daughter, which turned the crime boss into an important ally later on in the movie. She also saves Nick's life multiple times during their journey and is so thankful for his help that she not only wanted to give him credit for finding the missing mammals alongside her, she even wanted him to be her partner.
It would be nice to have a partner.
Her boss and colleagues may not take her seriously, however, this doesn't stop her from trying to make the most of the job she was given. She is determined to do her best, regardless of what everyone else expects of her. Her sense of responsibility to do the right thing is shown over and over throughout the movie as well. She gave herself a parking ticket when her meter went off. She chases down Weaselton in order to help a fellow resident who the weasel had robbed. She takes on the case of finding Mr. Otterton by herself with her very job at stake.
You strike out. You resign.
And when the divide between prey and predators starts to get out of hand, she takes full blame for the chaos by quitting her job while claiming that she wasn't a hero or a good cop.
I don't deserve this badge.
Despite all of her many good deeds, she is ranked a bit lower on the list for a few reasons. First off, since she got into a fight with a fox in her youth, this caused her to act very cautious around other foxes, even going as far as to wearing the fox repellent.
Probably best if you don't have a predator as a partner.
Furthermore, she does hustle Nick and threaten to throw him in jail if he didn't help her in her case, which was done with some feeling of payback.
Or the only place you'll be selling popsicles is the prison cafeteria.
As mentioned earlier, Judy's also not against asking a crime boss for help, or causing her own case of endangerment, considering her recklessness nearly caused a collision between two trains. Not to mention she almost got herself and Nick killed by trying to get evidence to the police station. But the biggest reason for her placement is this. In the moment, Judy makes a statement during her press conference that she doesn't realize is prejudice.
They seem to be reverting back to their primitive, savage ways.
While this wording could have been due to her own naive nature and was not meant to cause harm, she soon realized the danger of her words when Nick confronted her, clearly upset with her diction choice.
Oh, I think you said plenty.
This was only proven worse when Nick decided to test her, which resulted in her making a grab for her repellent. But thankfully, by the end of the movie, she learns to be more accepting and trusting of others, as she and Nick are able to trick Bellwether into revealing her plans.
Blood! And
She may have messed up, but she did do the best she could to make things right in the end.
it's called a hustle, sweetheart. Boom.
Following right behind Judy is Gideon Grey. When he's first introduced, he's a total jerk to say the least.
I'm gonna kick your meek little sheep butt.
He makes fun of Judy's dreams, he bullies and torments the other kids, and even attacked Judy for standing up for them, trying to scare her into giving up her confidence and dreams.
It's a stupid carrot farming dumb bunny.
But to be fair, at this point, he is just a kid, and it's mentioned that he had a lot of doubts and insecurities himself. The next time we see this guy all grown up, he has shown a lot of growth. He not only apologizes to Judy for his actions when he was young, but he also takes responsibility for his wrongdoings with a sincere and respectful attitude.
I'm sorry for the way I behaved in my youth.
He's made such a change that Judy's parents even make him their business partner. What a major turnaround. Next up is Flash. This guy is an overall decent character. He's nice, polite, and despite being a sloth, works as best as he can.
Sure. What's the plate?
His only questionable behavior comes at the end of the movie when he is revealed to be the speeding driver that Nick and Judy were tasked with catching.
I hope you have a good explanation.
As far as we know, Flash didn't really do anything to harm anyone else during his joyride, and considering how slow he moves, maybe he just couldn't get his feet on the pedal in time to stop properly. Judging from his face, this may not have been the case, but regardless, we're gonna cut him some slack. Up next is Chief Bogo. This guy has what can only be described as a polar personality. On one hand, he's shown to be grumpy, stern, and with little care for new recruits. So much so that he has no problems creating stress for them.
Didn't forget. Just don't care.
However, this could just be his behavior towards Judy in particular, since he makes the statement, "Do you think the mayor asked what I wanted when he assigned you to me?"
Do you think the mayor asked what I wanted?
It's clear that he doesn't take Judy as an officer seriously, since he gives her the lowest job on the totem pole. And he's also extremely angry with her for taking on the case of finding Mr. Otterton, threatening to fire her if she doesn't make it a success within 48 hours.
I will give you 48 hours.
It is fair to mention, though, that he only agrees to this after Bellwether steps in. His character takes another nosedive after he doesn't believe Judy when she says that the animals are going savage and criticizes her witness because of his species.
You think I'm going to believe a fox?
This guy does have a lot of marks against him, but he does show a soft side by the end of the movie. After the mammals are found, Bogo finally acknowledges Judy for the hard worker that she is, and even tries to comfort her when she loses her confidence.
The world has always been broken. That's why we need good cops.
He even becomes more open towards Nick, as he isn't afraid to joke around with the two and gives them an actual case to solve.
Parking duty. Dismissed. Just kidding.
Chief Bogo may come across as a difficult boss to please, but he does show his truer, more sensitive colors by the end of the movie. This may seem like a questionable choice, but Bonnie and Stu are next. From the very start of the movie, it is made clear that these two rabbits care deeply for their daughter's safety and well-being.
If you don't try anything new, you'll never fail.
However, the fact that they try so hard to talk her out of following her dreams is definitely sketchy, especially when her father tells her directly, "It's great to have dreams as long as you don't believe in them too much."
It's great to have dreams.
Yeah, just as long as you don't believe in them too much.
What is it with parents being unsupportive in Disney movies? No wonder kids don't listen to their parents much. This idea is pushed even further with their prejudice towards predators, particularly foxes.
Oh, come on, when is there not a need for a fox taser?
It was such a relief to see this belief change by the end of the movie as they explain to Judy that her efforts convinced them to take on Gideon Gray as a business partner.
He's our partner, and we never would have considered it had you not opened our minds.
Overall, these two are loving parents who care about Judy, but their choice of showing this concern is why they're not higher on the list. It is noble that they care so much for their daughter, but it makes us wonder if Bonnie and Stu ever saw how destructive their behavior was towards Judy's confidence.
It's the safest job on the force.
Oh, she's not a real cop. Our prayers have been answered.
And rounding out our good characters, we have the mischievous fox, Nick.
Sly Fox, Dumb Bunny.
From his first introduction, Nick is quite the con artist. He is so good at lying and being deceitful that he even tricks Judy into thinking he is a loving father figure.
I just want to say you're a great dad.
And while it is true that his scams may make him a considerate amount of money, his timber delivery scam could be seen as dangerous, especially since damp wood is known to break easily under pressure. While Nick may not be doing anything illegal, he is definitely a smart mouth who doesn't show much care for anyone else's well-being for the first half of the movie.
And I'm not the liar. He is.
He even enjoys Judy's constant struggling to solve a case that could literally cost her her job.
Hey, Flash, want to hear a joke?
No!
Also, he sold a rug made out of skunk's butt to Mr. Big. But while Nick does have some marks against him, he isn't without a heart. In the second half of the movie, Nick becomes less of a burden and more of a help. He tries to help Judy get evidence and statements, even though both situations put him in extreme danger. He shows genuine concern for Judy after their fall, and even stands up for Judy when her boss demands her badge.
No! She will not be giving you that badge.
When Nick tells Judy about his past, the two do share a moment of empathy, and it becomes much easier to see why Nick behaves the way that he does, especially after the press conference where he hears Judy make a very judgmental statement.
Just when I thought somebody actually believed in me.
After she apologizes to him, it becomes clear that he has no ill feelings towards her, and he gives her a hug and jokes around with her. From then on, the two are seen to have each other's backs.
I think we got it. We got it up there, thank you, yakety yak.
In the end, he becomes Judy's partner, and despite the fact that the two still mess with each other, Nick becomes proud to work with her.
Are all rabbits bad drivers, or is it just you?
And this is where we enter the gray area. Next is Oryx and Kudo. These guys may be rude, blunt, and loud, which does knock them down a few pegs.
I'm Judy, your new neighbor.
Yeah? Well, we're loud.
Don't expect us to apologize for it.
But it is fair to mention that Kudo at least stood up for Judy when Oryx started complaining about her.
Leave the meter man alone. Didn't you hear a conversation?
Right after these two is Gideon's friend, Travis. This character is only seen once throughout the movie. Although he was a friend of Gideon Gray when he was still a bully, he didn't stop the other boy from harassing Judy and her friends.
Look at her nose twitch. She is scared.
In fact, he even joined in on the harassment. Despite being his friend, Travis isn't above correcting Gideon on his intelligence, which based on his tone, Gideon is not happy about.
I'm pretty much sure it's pronounced DNA. Don't tell me what I know, Travis.
But we are going to cut him some slack though, since he is just a kid at this point. For all we know, he may have followed Gideon's example and became a better person, or he could be a criminal wandering the streets of Zootopia. We couldn't tell you. After Travis is Judy's landlord. This armadillo appeared to be friendly, but she quickly dropped this tone when she told Judy not to lose her keys.
Don't lose your key.
Her apartments were advertised as luxury, so we can probably chalk that up to false advertising.
Luxury apartments with jar.
Clearly, her only objective was to get a renter, regardless of how much she had to stretch the truth. Moving on to Mr. Big's daughter, Frou Frou. She may only appear a few times in the movie, but she is a big reason why Judy and Nick were not put on ice. Since she revealed that Judy saved her life, this was a big reason why she and Nick were saved from Mr. Big's wrath.
She's the bunny that saved my life yesterday!
In addition to this, she shares her father's gratefulness to her hero with the plan to name her daughter after the bunny cop.
I'm gonna name her Judy.
The only reason we put her this low on the list is because in one of her appearances, she says, "No icing anyone at my wedding."
What did we say? No icing anyone at my wedding!
So she clearly is aware of what her father's reputation is, and possibly of other crimes he has committed. Next up, we're placing the wolves and the doctor. These guys helped to kidnap the savage-turned animals, and they clearly understood the situation. However, their intentions of doing so could be seen as purely intended, since the savaged creatures could have caused more problems if left unchecked.
You're gonna start a howl.
I didn't start it.
And while the doctor was most likely running experiments on the savaged beasts, one could argue that she did so solely to find some kind of cure.
The only animals going savage are predators. We cannot keep it a secret.
So their overall actions may not be the right thing to do, but they are understandable. Next up might be a questionable choice, but hear us out first. Mayor Lionheart is up to bat. When we first meet this guy, he seems good-natured and understanding.
Very first rabbit officer, Judy Hopps.
However, as the movie goes on, his character becomes more self-centered. He seems to focus a lot on his own workload, particularly when it comes to his assistant.
Okay, I heard you, Bellwether. Just take care of it.
He doesn't show consideration for her stress or show her much respect at all. I mean, her work office looks more like a supply closet for crying out loud. Given this, it should be no surprise why Bellwether snapped. The only deed that he commits that could be seen as purely intended was the missing mammals. While it is true that he ordered these animals to be kidnapped and locked up due to their savage natures, it's hard to ignore the fact that the only reason he didn't tell the police about the mammals was to protect his own position as mayor.
What does Chief Bogo say?
Chief Bogo doesn't know.
Sadly, that does cost him quite a few points on the morality scale. I think we gotta get him out of office. Next is a minor character, Nanji. This instructor seems annoyed by everyone around her.
I have no memory of this beaver.
So much so that she didn't bother to think about the questions she was asked. From her demeanor, it was clear that she just wanted Yak to leave her be. And that wraps up the gray area. Now we have the bad and the evil. Starting with the ice cream seller. This guy may not have been on screen for long, but his behavior is quite negative.
We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone.
He was mean, rude, and prejudiced to Nick just because the fox wanted to buy his kid a popsicle.
There aren't any Fox ice cream joints in your part of town.
Although, to be fair, if Nick really did con people as much as he claimed, then this guy's reaction to his request was more understandable. However, there's no way to say for sure that he knew this bit of information. Next is Finnick. This guy may be able to pull off the innocent little kid routine, even convincing Judy of the act.
Anyone can be anything.
But he's proven to be anything but innocent. He's tough as nails, has no problem making threats, and isn't above laughing at his partner's expense.
You a cop now, Nick? You gonna need one of these.
Furthermore, he even grabs a bat when Judy knocks on his van's door, clearly ready for a fight. We're gonna put the polar bear minions up next. Despite the fact that these guys don't actually talk, they are very intimidating. Since these guys work for a crime boss, one can only imagine all of the law-breaking acts that these guys have taken part in. And on the topic of organized crime, next up is Mr. Big. He has very little patience for disrespect given Nick's history with him.
Whoa, I didn't see nothing. I'm not saying nothing.
However, he isn't completely without heart. Just before he ices Judy and Nick, his daughter reveals that Judy saved her life just the day before. The crime boss is so grateful to Judy that he not only spares her life, but he also lets Nick off the hook, or Claw in this case, as well as helps to find Otterton and even helps Judy get information out of Weaselton to track down her lead.
Ice this weasel.
All right, please, I'll talk.
Despite being a crime boss, this guy cares very deeply for his family and those closest to him. But he still runs an organized criminal organization and isn't afraid to use violence to get what he wants.
I told you never to show your face here again, but here you are.
And for that, we can't rank him any higher. Taking the bronze medal for evil is Duke Weaselton. Boy, this guy is a weasel.
Hey, if it isn't Flopsy the Copsy.
Unlike Mr. Big, who actually shows to have some redeeming qualities to his overall bad reputation, Weaselton clearly doesn't. He steals from a store, mocks a cop, sells bootleg movies, and is even willing to put the lives of many innocent citizens in jeopardy just to get away from Judy.
Have a donut, copper!
His only redeeming quality is the warning he gives Nick and Judy about Doug.
Doug is the opposite of friendly. He's unfriendly.
Otherwise, he is nothing but trouble. The silver medal of evil has to go to Doug and the other sheep. While it is true that these guys may only be seen for the last half of the movie, their role was a big one. One of the sheep, Doug, revealed that he was the one who was shooting predators with the savage serum.
Tiny little otter through the open window of a moving car.
Since he openly admitted to his involvement on the phone, it was clear that he had no problem following along with Bellwether's plans, even though doing so caused others so much suffering.
Cheetah and Sahara Square.
And finally, I'm sure to no one's surprise, our gold medal of evil goes to Bellwether. When we first meet her, she is kind, eager, and acts unsure of herself.
You know, it's a real proud day for us little guys.
Her respect for Judy is also seen early on in the movie when she says us little guys have to stick together.
Us little guys really need to stick together.
Furthermore, she also saves Judy's job from Chief Bogo and helps her get information from cameras around the city. Though she makes this intention clear when she claimed that her goal was to frame Lionheart for her crimes of turning predators savage.
I framed Lionheart. I can frame you.
She finally shows her true colors when Judy and Nick find out her plan and has no problem using Nick as a scapegoat to kill Judy and keep her position.
There's a savage fox in the Natural History Museum.
The look on her face clearly gives the audience a true sense of what she's capable of, though thankfully, her overconfidence does catch up with her in the end.
And I'll dart every predator in Zootopia to keep it that way.
But what do you think? Do you agree with our ranking? Who do you think are the most good and evil characters in Zootopia? Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, movies, and games. But most importantly, stay wicked.